Yo, welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet VGC video. I'm your host Jose Rocks, and we finally got our video. It's our time for our ranking videos. So everybody's been doing their ranking videos, putting them out. So it's time to give my perspective, and we'll see how we compare to some of the other content creators who put their restricted list out. But I wanted to go ahead and put my list out. So I was trying to do a non-restricted list, and while I was making it, like the list just got corrupt or something and vanished. So in the middle of me making that video, it just got messed up. So stay tuned for that if you guys are interested in me ranking the non-restricted Pokemon, because they matter too, right? They make up over 50%, like more than 50% of the team, and those other 4 slots are really going to be important after you pick your first 2 restricteds. So it's also good to just have, a good ranking and see what's really good with those, right? So if you guys are interested in that, go ahead and subscribe, turn those post notifications, and we're gonna go ahead and get into this video. So if you guys, have been here for a while, you know that I usually like to do every format. We do a rankings video right at the beginning before it comes out, and I kind of give my opinion. I use my list. This is how I rank them. It's a little bit, it differs a little bit from how other people, rank theirs, because I have specific categories that I feel like each mon can really fit into, right? So we have the S tier, which is going to be the must-have answers for Busted. That's going to be your best Pokemon right there. The A tier is going to be that next tier up, down from S tier, I should say, which are going to be good on every team. They're going to be a winner, right? These Pokemon, while they're not as good as the S tier Pokemon, if you put them on your team, you're going to get wins by playing with them, right? The B tier is going to be, it plays their role well, reliable. These are going to be the Pokemon that are really reliable, and they have a role that they have for a specific team, and they play that well. There's not really a lot of restricteds that really fall into that category of being a role player when they're usually the main character of the team, but there may be a few that offer some support that can be really good in this format. Next is going to be the C tier, which fits on one type of team, the niche. These are going to be niche restrictors that I feel like can be good if they're put on a specific team, and they can work as long as that team is built properly around it. The D tier is going to be, while they're not the bottom of the barrel, they have something that can make them work, but there's other Pokemon that does that job a lot easier, and you're going to have a lot easier time winning if you want to go to like a regional or, get top of the ladder. Then you're going to want to use something that is more consistent than the D tier, right? Then the F tier is, if you want to win, don't use these. These are the unviable restrictors. Now, while you can build a team around these restrictors, if you just want to be, kind of crazy and still try to build a competitive team around it, it can work. Just know that you're going to be working a lot harder to get those wins, and sometimes it's going to be like where you have to drop your restricted. It's not okay. It's not bad to always want to drop your restricted if you feel like it has a really bad matchup into something like a Calyrex, into like a Calyrex Shadow and a Zamazenta team or something. If you don't really want to bring your Calyrex Ice, something like that, even though you still might bring it, it's really bad in a Zamazenta. That's just an example, right? But with the F tier, you can make them work, but most of the time you're going to be working really hard to get them to work, so they're really unviable for the current format. And then of course we got the last little section for Cosmog. It's not on this list, but it would be in that, down there in that gray area if we did have it. All right, bro, so let's go. We're gonna start with the Gen 1. We got Mewtwo. I think Mewtwo is unfortunately gonna go in a D tier. I don't think it's F tier. I think that Mewtwo has his niche, right? It's not a C tier though, but its niche is that it has a lot of coverage, like Ice Beam, Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, Aura Spear, Dark Pulse. Like, it has coverage for everything. So like, you would think that it's really good with Stellar, but Stellar doesn't change its defensive typing, which is still like very vulnerable to like dark type attacks and ghost type attacks and bug type attacks, which can be pretty common in restricted formats, right? And also Mewtwo, while it is really fast, it gets outsped by like Calyrex Shadow and Zacian, which can also will both threaten it really hard with super effective damage, as well as like Miraidon and Koraidon with just powerful damage that can one-shot Mewtwo. Because while it is bulky for non-restricted Pokemon, it's not bulky in terms of restricted Pokemon, right? So I think that, Lunala and Calyrex Shadow kind of outclass it, so it falls in the D tier. But I do think that is a little bit better than F tiers if I had to be the judge. Next is Lugia. I think Lugia is also D tier. I think Terapagos outclasses it because this format is just a little bit too fast paced, and Lugia doesn't really have a lot of time to set up unless you like use something like Grim Screens. But imagine Lugia trying to set up calm minds in front of two other restrictors on the other side that just want to be offensive and attack you, right? One's gonna break through your multi-skill, the other's gonna deal big damage. And while you do have to waste a terror if it's like a Calyrex Shadow, it just doesn't feel good to take all that damage and immediately be on the back foot and have to heal it back up just to get one calm mind off. That's not gonna allow you to do over 50%, or you're maybe, if they're not bulky, you'll do like maybe 60, 70, but you're not gonna one-shot them with one calm mind, right? It's like a lot of resource that you have to give up to make it work. And I love Lugia. It's one of my favorite restricteds, and I used it in the single restricted format. But I do think this power level is a little bit too much for it. But we'll see. Maybe somebody will come out with the Lugia team and it'll work because it can play alongside another restricted and it doesn't have to be the main character. But we'll see how it goes. I think that if you do want to try it, you should probably combine it with Calyrex Shadow, just so you have one of the best restricteds to like kind of help carry the load. Ho-Oh. I think Ho can be niche. I think it can fit on sun teams with like Koraidon and Groudon and be pretty threatening with Sacred Fire in the sun. Of course, Entei, you might just want to do that if you don't want to take up your restricted slot. But Ho has some unique resistances, like it's really good into fighting types as well as ground types that can't hit it unless you Terror, which is something that Entei is weak to ground. So it is really good in that aspect. It is 4 times weak to rock, but the only rock type coverage that you're really running into is like Ogerpon Rock, right? And you can play around that if you have the right typing, defensive typing, or you have the right teammates, right? Kyogre. Now, this is going to be a hot take because I don't see anybody doing this, but I think Kyogre's an S tier. This might be crazy to think, but Kyogre does so much damage, and having another restricted is just like perfect for it when Kyogre's not the main threat. It can play like that secondary restricted role, and like while the attention is on the other restricted, like a Calyrex Ice or Calyrex Shadow or even a Zacian, Kyogre just kind of sneaks in there and is forgotten about, then surprises you with like a Choice Scarf, Water Spout, and then just annihilate the game, right? And you can like have it in the end game and leave your other restricted in the early game, and it's just really solid with that. So it's really fun. I think Kyogre's an S tier. I know I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it. I've already been practicing with it, and it's just been decimating people, right? It's a really good mon, and like I said, it might be a hot take, but I do think that if you don't have answers for Kyogre in Rain, you can literally get swept because it's able to, you know, double KO a lot of different non-restricted Pokemon. Even some restricted Pokemon can't really take the Water Terror, Water Spouts from Kyogre. I think that if you try to run like the Calm Mindset setting up, it's probably going to be like maybe an A tier. But with the Choice Scarf set, in my opinion, in this restricted format, double restricted, I think that is S tier for sure. All right, next we have Groudon. I think Groudon is a B tier. Plays his role well at being a sunsetter. It's a very good. I think Groudon is one of the best restricteds when it comes to activating support. Non-restricted Pokemon, right? If you think of the things that it can activate, things like Lilligant, both Lilligant forms, Venusaur, Charizard, Chi-Yu, Ogerpon Fire, Raging Bolt, Fluttermane, Sandy Shocks, Ho-Oh, right? Even a Koraidon, if you run like a double sun team, Groudon can set up the sun for Koraidon in case you run into like a rain team, right? You're gonna see somebody try it with Koraidon and Groudon on the same team. I might be that crazy person just to try it because it seems pretty cool. But Groudon just enables so many things. It enables like better lines into Miraidon, which is one of the best restrictors in the format. It's immune to the electric type coverage and forces it to have to like click like Dazzling Gleam or Draco Meteor. So that's really solid, right? It forces Terras out, right? And I might be missing a few other mons like Walking Wake and Gouging Fire. It just, the Chlorophyll mons, the Photosynthesis mons, the fire types, also activates a lot of different grass types, synthesis and stuff like that. It's just the best restricted at activating other like non-restricted Pokemon. And it does activate a couple other restricted Pokemon, but it just enables so many different lines. So I think it does really good at being a secondary support restricted, and I think it's going to be really good in this format now that it doesn't have to be the main carry for a team, and it can just, you know, support the non-restricted while the other restricted is like the star of the team. So I think that Groudon is really good in that aspect. Rayquaza, I think it's niche. I think that it can surprise you next to a Chien-Pao and like a Calyrex Shadow by just e-speeding your whole team, and if you tear in a Ghost, and Calyrex Shadow kind of just sweeps you. So I think it can fit on those teams. I think that Calyrex Shadow is the only teammate I really see Rayquaza working with. Dialga, I don't know. I have much to say about this. Um, like I said, it's fairly new, and I never played with it in a double restricted format. Of course, there's other new Gen 9 Pokemon that's their first time in a double restricted format too. But this is pretty much it was released in like halfway at the end of Gen 8. So it comes after Gen 8 but before Gen 9, so it's like right in the middle. So it's still basically Gen 9. So I don't really want to harshly judge it. So I want to put it in C tier because I think that it can be good because it does have a lot of defensive stats and high HP stat. And if you build a team specifically around it, I think it can work. So I don't want to pass judgment on it too soon. I putting it any lower than that, but I think that for right now it's niche until we give it a try in a double restricted format. Dialga, this is gonna be a D tier for me. Just use Origin Dialga because they are basically the same thing, but this one's bulkier, right? So you might as well just use that. Now, Palkias, now they kind of play a little bit differently. This Palkia, I think, is also C tier. I think they're both C tier because they play pretty differently. But Palkia wants to be on more so on Trick Room teams with Calyrex Ice, and this being a bulky Trick Room setter that can support other Trick Room teams, right? It's really solid in that aspect. And this one really wants to play fast and hit hard, so I think they're both in C tier. If I had to pick, I think that you may see this Palkia a little bit more than this one because it is really good on like the Calyrex Ice Trick Room teams, right? Just having like it's like outside of Calyrex Shadow, and if you don't want to double up on Psychic types by using Lunala plus Calyrex Ice and Lunala, then this is another good restricted Trick Room setter, right? So I feel like it can really fit on that team, and it doesn't share like a common weaknesses with Calyrex Ice, right? So I think it can function on there. But let me know what you guys think about that. I've seen a couple people trying it, and I've seen them winning with it, so that's why my opinion kind of strange that way. Giratina, this is gonna be an F tier, right? I think this is way worse than these. I've been playing with it on Showdown and for Regulation G, and it takes a lot to make it work. I think they're both F tier, right? They're not good. I think Restrum's F tier. And funny enough, like these Pokemon, I think they're better than these. I think Zekram's also F tier. I think they're a little bit better at Giratina, but they're just not good, man. They're pressured by Miraidon. They're pressured by Landorus. They're pressured by Groudon. Like it's not a good format for them. But maybe you can make it fit on a Sun team, or you can use this on a Miraidon team with electric terrain, and they can deal some big damage. Like using these next to Miraidon and Koraidon, they can deal more damage, right? Like they get raging. It gets rising voltage, or I think that's what it is. Whatever the electric move for the electric terrain is, I know it gets it, and you can run. I think it's a special attack, right? So you can run like a special Zekrom. I think I might try that just to see what it does. Cause I remember like using electric terrain with Zekrom in like Gen 8, and it was good with the Dynamax. And you set up your own electric terrain, and after electric terrain, you can use the rising voltage attack and just have a powerful electric type attack, right? So it was really solid. I think Kyurem Ice, I think it's B tier. I think both of these Kyurems are B tier. They're gonna play their role well on the teams that they're on. Don't sleep on these with surprise set like Choice Scarf, Choice Specs, or Loaded Dice. I think they can really clean up, and Ice type coverage is just really good in the format. They threaten the Koraidon and Miraidon Dragons with one-hit KOs, and your opponent has to react to them. So I think they play the role really well in forcing out Terras, and your opponent might not have a lot of experience against them, so they can kind of thrive in that. This Zacian is going to be D tier for me. You're really going to want to use regular Zacian, but I still think it's better than these. So this Zacian, I think this is going to be an A tier for me. Might be another hot take, but I do think that double restricted format is really kind to Kyogre and Zacian, and we're going to see a huge rise in them, right? Zamazenta, let's see, why did they rank them? I didn't mess this order up, but they did that. But we'll just keep it right here. This Zamazenta, I think this was F tier. I don't like, just the steel typing is what helps it. Plus the other Zamazenta is a lot bulkier. You really don't want to try to use this. I don't see how you can win with it. The upside from using this Zacian is that it can have an item, but I don't really see like you really using this to pure fighting Zamazenta. I don't know what it can really do good into. Eternatus, I think Eternatus, or however you pronounce it. I think it's D tier, but I think it's the better of the D tier. We'll see if it can function a little bit better, but it kind of falls into that same thing with Mewtwo with that base 130 speed. While it is really fast and it's good into like the Rillaboom, Urshifu, Incineroar core, it just gets outsped by like Miraidon, Calyrex, Shadow. They all threaten it for super effective damage. Koraidon, if it's running a Dragon type move, outspeeds and threats it for super effective damage. Zacian can deal big damage to it, and Poison and Dragon, Zacian is immune to both of those stabs, so you got to run like Flamethrower, which is non-stabbing, and Zacian can just Terra, and then you're having a bad time, right? So it's just really not good into those. Kyogre with an Assault Vest kind of just sits in front of it. So I don't know, with a Life Orb it can be decent. We'll see. I might try to build a team around it, and if it's decent, I may raise it up later on in Regulation I. Koraidon, I think it's also going to be A tier. I think it's really solid. I think it just offers so much damage, and Wolfie with the Life Orb just unlocked a new variant of like how to use Koraidon. And Life Orb Close Combat just one-shot so many other restricted, so that's something that you got to be prepared for. I do think Koraidon's going to be good on every team. Miraidon, I think, is still S tier. I think it's still king. It won the last World Championship, so we still got to put some respect on his name. And until it's dethroned from that championship, because it still has opportunity to win the double restricted format too, then it's going to stay up in S tier. Terrapagos, I think it's A tier. I think a lot of people are sleeping on it. While you have more slots to slot on things on your team like Zamazenta and actually, yeah, Zamazenta and Koraidon being so common right now, I'm gonna put in a B tier because it really doesn't like to see them. But its role is that it punishes people for going for Terras, which makes them not want to Terra early in the game, which can set up a lot of your other restrictors for success when they don't have to worry about Pokemon Terran because out of fear of an in-game Terrapagos. The downside of Terrapagos is that it's forced to Terra most of the time to get the value out of it, so it takes up a lot of resources from the other restrictors. Now I do think a good partner for it is Calyrex Shadow with a Focus Sash, because with the Focus Sash you don't necessarily have to use a defensive Terra on Calyrex because you could take a major hit. And I think that Calyrex Shadow with a Focus Sash doesn't necessarily need to Terra like that, so that you can save that Terra for Terrapagos. I think that it can kind of work in that aspect. It needs to be explored with a little more, but I do think a lot of the other restrictors like to have their Terra, so it like kind of hogging the Terra kind of limits it to things like Calyrex Shadow, and also Zacian is one that doesn't necessarily always need the Terra because Zacian has the best typing in the game, right? And it has really good bulk, so it doesn't necessarily always need to Terra. But other than that, like Zacian in the end game may need to Terra to survive like a major hit. But other than that, I think it could play with Terrapagos too. Lunala, I saw some people trying to build with a Lunala team with Terrapagos, with them both being able to like not be able to be one shot easily. But Lunala definitely needs the it needs the Terra, so I don't see it being good with Terrapagos, but I've seen some people make some funny teams around it. I think Lunala is A tier. I think that it can really fit on any team and offer you Trick Room, as well as being bulky and threatening Calyrex Shadow. And also, it is a Terra hog, but when it does Terra, Lunala is so hard to knock out. So Galio, it's going to be a D tier for me. It's a wannabe, right? I think you should just use Necrozma. I haven't seen anyone use Sigaleo in Scarlet and Violet. It was really good in Sword and Shield with Dynamax, but Dynamax terrestrialization is not too kind for it. Now we may see it pop up in a double restricted format because anything is possible, but I think that this one's a little bit better, and I think that this one, I think it's a little bit better than Dialga. I think it is better than all of these except Ho, right? Actually, I think it's better than Ho because it's so bulky, right? I think it's in C tier because it's going to fit on those Trick Room teams. I don't really see it working on like a faster Tailwind team because it really wants to like not have to invest into speed and invest everything into bulk, so that it's super hard with its abilities. Even taking super effective hits, it's very hard to knock that thing out. Calyrex Ice, I think it's A tier still. I mean S tier. Don't sleep on the Calyrexes. You know what they do. We know what they're here for. It just being able to be a secondary restricted on any team is really S tier now. A lot of people may put Calyrex Ice in the A tier, but I've seen Calyrex Ice just fit so well alongside other restricteds that I really can't put it any less than that. It is kind of a hot take, actually. Mm, nah, because I got Kyogre up there too. I think it's S tier, man. And then, like I said, this is my list. Is subjective, but this thing is just it's so good. Like, and it gets a boost whenever it gets a KO. It's just such a good Pokemon. Necrozma, Dawn Wings. Uh, it's not better than Lunala, right? So I think it's D tier. Cause like it just used Lunala, right? Even though Lunala it's a bulkier version of Lunala, Lunala ends up being more bulky because of the Shadow Shield. Rather, as this ability, when you have those 4 times weaknesses, doesn't really help it that much, right? It does help it like if you Terra, and you have a good Terror on it, then you get hit super effectively. It can help in that way. I really haven't seen anybody try to build around it, but I think I want to try it since I use this in Regulation G. I want to try to build a team around it just to see how it does. It's gonna be tough, but being able to have another restricted at my side may help it a lot, right? So we'll see how that goes. Zamazenta, I want to put Zamazenta in the S tier. I think that it's very slappable on any team. A lot of restricteds like to use powerful spread type attacks. You think of Groudon with Precipice Blades, Kyogre Water Spout, the Calyrex Astral Barrage, Glacial Lance, Kyurem with Blizzard. Even you may have the Parabolic Charge or Discharge, Miraidon, which we probably see those pop up like next to a Groudon team. I can see Groudon Discharge, Miraidon being like a thing. So being able to just block that with like easily having White Guard on that slot is just so solid, right? So Zamazenta is just so good. Calyrex Shadow, I think it's the second best restricted after Miraidon because Miraidon's the World Championship winner. I think that this is a little bit better than Kyogre. I think like this is a good one for me, right? And Telesteller, I mean Terra Stellar. Why is this here? So they got 2 of these. So since it's here, I want to still rank it. When this thing Terras, I think it's an A tier mon. Without the Terra, it's a B tier, but because it's not Terra yet, and it kind of takes up that Terra slot. But once it does Terra, and your opponent like has their Terra on the other side of the field, it feels so good. It removes terrain, it removes weather, so that's really solid for us. So I want to say that we'll put that in A tier since it's both on this list. And I didn't really go into too much depth with Calyrex Shadow because Calyrex Shadow, we know what it does. It won the World Championship in Sword and Shield along with Zacian. It's just hard to deal with. It forces a lot of defensive plays. It forces terrors. It forces a lot of back foot switching and things like that. And it's just very aggressive. And what it can do when it wants to play like supportive, it can really surprise a lot of opponents. Like playing it as a supportive restricted with also offense with like Will-O-Wisp and Taunt and Encore, it's just devastating, right? You can even run Trick Room on it if your opponent sets up Tailwind. They know that they're gonna need to outspeed this thing. They can't one-shot it because of the Focus Sash, and then you just get Trick Room up, and then you bring in Indeedee, and then you just sweep your opponent's team, right? So those teams are really scary, and you got to be prepared for them because a lot of people aren't really expecting Trick Room on Calyrex, and it can be super threatening. But that's gonna be it for this list. Let me know what you guys think with a comment below. How does this compare to your own list or other YouTube creators list? I think I'm the only one to put Kyogre in the S tier, but mark what I tell you guys, man. Kyogre is so good in this restricted format. It's like I'm playing with it and I'm just winning games like in turn 1. Like people are just forfeiting because it's just so good, right? So I'm happy to showcase some teams that I've built around it so I can back up my claim for making it S tier. But let me know what you guys think with a comment below. If you like this type of content, go ahead and subscribe, turn on post notifications. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers, and each subscription that you guys do for us helps the channel grow. And when I get to 1,000 subscribers, we're gonna be doing a lot of fun things for the channel, and I'm also gonna be doing a face reveal because I haven't had my face on these videos yet. I wanted to be able to show you guys that we can make it to 1,000 subscribers being a faceless channel, and then we're gonna start having our face on the channel after we hit 1,000. So that's gonna be something that I look forward to. So if you guys are interested in that and you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and turn on those post notifications. But that's gonna be it for this video. I will catch you guys in the next one. Stay tuned. More new videos soon. Deuces.